Good morning. So, yesterday we went over the present perfect tense. Today we're going to be talking about the past perfect tense and the future perfect tense. Instead of doing it on the projectable, I'm going to go over it on your actual worksheets so that the video will be a little bit shorter and a little bit easier for you to handle. So, let's look at what our cheat sheet says. The past perfect tense of a verb shows an action that happened before a certain time in the past. To write the past perfect tense, use had as a helping verb. Then write the correct form of the main verb. Past perfect tense, he had wanted to visit his friend on her birthday. We had given her flowers and a birthday cake before. So the past perfect tense is by far the easiest. You are always using the word had. When we're talking about the past perfect or any perfect tense in general, when we have this word past, it refers to what tense had is in. So if we're talking about future, that means had would be in the future tense. We would use will have. If we were talking about present, we would have or has. So for the past perfect tense, we are using the word had plus the past tense of the main verb. The main verb is always in the past tense, even if it's the future tense, even if it's the present tense. The main verb, the action word here, is always going to be in the past tense. So let's look at number one. I'm going to do 3 of them on this page with you so that you can do the rest independently. So number 1, we stop fishing when the lake had frozen over. Well, I need to use the past tense had. So we had, and then the past tense of the word stop, which is stopped. S-T-O. Remember to double your consonant because of our vowel sound rules. We had stopped fishing when the lake froze over. Number 2, I already had. Every single one here is going to have had as the first word. So if you want to go through and type had for every single one first, then go back and write the past tense of the verb in parentheses, that would be a great habit to get into. I already had blank by the time the guest came. Now, this is an irregular verb. When I'm talking about an irregular verb, I mean that in the past tense, it doesn't end in ed. We talked about this yesterday. Eat does not become eated. Therefore, when we're talking about the past perfect tense, we use a different form of eat, and that is eaten. That looks like cat, but you guys get the idea. Make this more of an E. Okay, I already had eaten by the time the guest came. If I said I already had ate by the time the guest came, it sounds somewhat okay. It wouldn't be 100% incorrect, but eaten sounds better. And let's do one more before you guys do it independently. Before we knew it, they had, once again, we're always putting had for past perfect tense. And leave is left in the past tense. Okay, so before we knew it, they had left the building. Now we're going to look at the future perfect tense, which is not difficult either. Okay, so now we're looking at the future perfect tense. This is page 261. So let's look at what our little cheat sheet says. Whoop. It says the future perfect tense of a verb shows an action that will be finished by a certain time in the future. To form the future perfect tense, write will have before the correct form of the main verb. So once again, you don't have to think about what form you're writing. Every single one of these will start with will have. Then you're going to use the past tense of the verb in parentheses. Like I've been saying every time we've done a worksheet this week, the main verb that is here is always going to be in parentheses. The only thing that changes is the form of have or has. So let's look at the examples they give us. I will have played 10 games by the end of this season. Will have is in the future tense. Remember, we use will to indicate something has not been fully completed yet. And our main verb is in the past tense, played. I will have played 10 games by the end of this season. The second example, they will have driven across the country by next week. Once again, drive is not drived in the past tense, so that is why it is a little bit different in the present or future perfect tense. So let's look at 1, 2, and 3 again. So every single one of these is going to start with will have. I will have blank my lunch long before 1 o'clock. Finish is my main verb, so I'm going to write finished. Once again, your main verb is always in the past tense. Always. It doesn't matter if it's the future perfect, past perfect, or present perfect. Your main verb is always, 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 always in the past tense. Number 2, we blank clean by the time you get home. So once again, we will have, every single one of these is going to start with will have. Oh my goodness. Wish there was a typing option. And we're going to put clean, our main verb, in the past tense. I know I'm repeating myself many times, but I want to make sure I'm making this as clear to you guys as possible. Your main verb, when we're talking about the perfect tense, is always going to be in the past tense. And Tanya blank 8 hours of sleep by morning. So once again, will have. Now, don't get confused by the fact that we have as our main verb. Don't let that confuse you. We're still following the exact same formula. What is the past tense of have? Had. So will have had 8 hours of sleep by morning. So once again, regardless of what your perfect tense is, whether it's past perfect, future perfect, present perfect, your main verb, these verbs that are in the parentheses, are always going to be in the past tense. When you're talking about future tense, you're going to start every sentence with will have. When you're talking about the past perfect tense, you're going to start every sentence with had. Today's is easier than yesterday. If you have any questions, please let me know in the group.